Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual session on how to get into pharmacy school. And with us, we have from Midwestern, Jessica Dow. And from the University of Arizona, we have Luz Maria Hernandez.
Hello.
And I'm Ariel Cookson. I am part of the GCC STEM Connect team. And with me is also Alina Beltran, our director for STEM Connect. And we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with a quick, about 10 minutes for each of our school representatives to tell us a little bit about their school and the school's program. And then we'll start diving into a question and answer. Alina and I have some questions that we already anticipated a lot of students would have. And so we'll start with those. And then we'll also be taking your questions as well that you can put into the chat, and we'll just kind of incorporate them as we go along. Okay. So we're starting with Midwestern, and that is Jessica Dow.
Hello. Let's see if I can share my PowerPoint here.
Okay.
Not everyone wants to pull up, but that's okay. So for Midwestern, we have our two campuses, one here in Glendale and the second one is in Downers Grove, Illinois. Both have the pharmacy program and both are 3 years in length. And you would apply to them as separate colleges even though they are under the same university. And with both colleges, they follow a very similar curriculum in which you have 2 years of didactics and then 1 year of rotations out in clinic. We do have students kind of starting clinicals a bit early with our standardized patients in our simulation clinic, so you'll get some exposure, and that way students are well prepared and comfortable for entering the field. We are an interdisciplinary school. So with pharmacy, we have 14 other healthcare programs on both campuses, and pharmacy tends to integrate into many of them. So you'll have a few interdisciplinary core classes as well. Most of the time you'll be with medicine, podiatry. We have some integration with veterinary. So there's a lot of options in that sense as well. It is pretty accelerated, so we do expect that students are prepared for the coursework. We don't require the bachelor's degree, but it is highly recommended. It does help your application stand out, so that is an option. And I know with Glendale or Maricopa Community College, we do have a program in which you guys can integrate onto a fast track into Midwestern. So if there's questions about that, I can discuss it later, but there is a route from Maricopa Community College. Our recommended GPA is a 2.5. Our average expected is about a 3.1 in science and a 3.2 overall. We no longer require the PCAT. However, it is highly recommended if you have below a 2.7 science GPA. So this way, when you take the PCAT, it'll help boost that stat, and you want to aim for the 41 percentile or higher with the PCAT. And then the prerequisites, there's a list on our website, so I'll provide the link and our contact information in the chat at the end so you guys can see the list. And then we require 2 letters of recommendation. They preferably one from a pharmacist, but we would like to see one also from a healthcare advisor, science professor, someone who can kind of speak to your work ethic, your drive, motivation, and like your characteristics. And then other things that would help your application stand out would be any healthcare certification. So like the CNA, ENT, farm tech, vet tech. Other aspects would be patient healthcare experience. So any scribing, volunteer work in the hospital, any community service-based things we will definitely take into account because our school is pretty driven with the community work. And then also any honors and achievements as well. Our application process, you would apply through FarmCast. Takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get to us. We take about 2 weeks to review, decide on an invite. Once you get an invitation and you interview, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for a decision. So we try to make it as quick as possible. It is rolling admission, so the earlier the better. Ours, I believe, is open now until March 1st for the 2021 start date. We do start in the summertime, June. And then our demographic here is 32% male, 68% female, 45% is from Arizona, and the average age is 27 years old. And then our applications, we receive about 600, we interview about 275, and then we seat a class of 140. And then some of the final tips are just to maintain your GPA, keep in contact with the school you want to go to just to make sure that you're on track with everything, and touch base in regards to any courses that may be helpful in boosting your application or others that you may need to retake or that the program may feel important. But yes, that's kind of the overall view for Midwestern Pharmacy.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah. Ms. Maria, would you like to tell us more about UA, University of Arizona? You're still muted. Do you need me to unmute you?
There we go. Can you hear me now? Okay.
I hear you
well,
now.
good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Luz Maria Hernandez, and I am a representative of the University of Arizona College of Pharmacy, and I'm happy to be here to share with you all that we have to offer at the College of Pharmacy, specifically for our PharmD program. At the College of Pharmacy, we have a wide range of, or actually several pathways to get there. Just like Midwestern, we also have 2 campuses. Obviously, we have our campus here in Tucson, and then we have our second campus at the Phoenix Biomedical Campus. In Phoenix, we only offer the PharmD program, and in our Tucson campus, we offer everything the College of Pharmacy has to offer, as well as a fairly new undergraduate major that you can get to maybe help you stand out to apply to the College of Pharmacy as well, which is the Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences major. And that is a major that we started in fall of 2018. We graduated our first class of students this spring, and we had a total of 16 students who graduated with that new undergraduate major. Of the 16 students who graduated from that specific major at the U of A College of Pharmacy, a total of 14 are actually now enrolled to our PharmD program. So that's super exciting to see that most of the students are feeling prepared and are prepared indeed to take on a professional program such as the PharmD program. So I am going to see if I can share my screen to hopefully, let's see if it'll let me. Let's see.
Just a reminder that you also have the menu at the top as well, and the third option is share.
The menu on the top. Let me try that because I already had it up rather than doing a, let's see. Maybe it may or may not work for me. Can you see this?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Sorry about that. We tried last week in a test run, and for some reason it's not working today. Let me see. Show menu bar, share again. I'll go ahead and see if I can just find the the file super quick. I think it's going to be in here too anyways. Is it working? Do you see it? You seeing it downloading?
No, we don't see it. Oh, okay.
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
All right.
All right, you're
So
sharing.
here, all right. So here you see a quick aerial view of our current campus at the Tucson, at the University of Arizona Tucson campus. So this is our Drachman Hall, where majority of the PharmD classes are held, and then right behind it is our SCAGS building that actually recently got renovated, and we added substantial square footage for more labs and more meeting rooms for all of our students, specifically for our PharmD program. And anyway, so that's a good kind of idea of where we are. We're on basically on the northeast corner of campus at the University of Arizona in the health sciences area. So we share with public health, nursing, and the College of Medicine. And then right over here on the other side is our health sciences building, which is a collaboration of all the colleges of science of the University of Arizona, where we have more space and wonderful areas that share all the different areas of the college and overall in the program. So let me go on to the next slide if it lets me. Now, where do I click on this for the next slide?
I'm not sure. And there might be an arrow to the right, or
I'm trying to move it, and it's not. Maybe if I move the whole screen, this might not work. Then, anyways, I'll just leave that for now, and we'll keep going with the discussion. At the College of Pharmacy, we have, like I mentioned, 4 pathways to get into the College of Pharmacy. Obviously, we have where you do get a Bachelor's of Science, or any bachelor's for that matter, as long as you have completed the prerequisites. There are 17 prerequisite courses that you have to have under your belt in order to apply. There's 8 regular courses and 9 science. Then we also ask that you have some experience under your belt when it comes to the world of healthcare, at least 40 hours of some experience with patient care. We also ask that you have at a minimum about 40 hours of community service, because as you know, in the world of health, especially in the world of PharmD, you're going to be working with the community as a whole. So it's always good to have that experience under your belt, first and foremost for yourself, to make sure that, you know, this is the type of environment that you want to work day in and day out, dealing with the regular community and helping assess and help and guide them in the process. So it's more than anything doing a good service for yourself to get out there and get that experience under your belt, whether it be in healthcare or not, just community service overall. And then, of course, the 40 hours of community service. We also ask that you complete or that you gain 2 recommenders. You do have to submit 2 letters of recommendation. And your recommenders are super important. They need to basically really know you, know your passion in the world of pharmacy, understand, and more importantly, then be dedicated to support you through the entire process of the application, making sure that they're going to be able to answer questions, emails, whatever that is needed. Not just somebody that just knows you, that you just met, that happens to be in the world of pharmacy per se, but it's somebody that knows you, that knows your passion and your dedication overall to the world of healthcare and specifically in the world of pharmacy. So that's super important for you. Our minimum GPA is also a 2.5 for you to get into the college. Obviously, we prefer a greater GPA because, as you know, the coursework that you're taking in the College of Pharmacy as a whole, or what prepares you, is of high rigor in the world of science and the world of math. So a higher GPA obviously prepares you to better perform and successfully graduate and get that amazing certificate as a doctor of pharmacy. So it's super important for you to focus on, you know, having a very good GPA overall. Obviously, a good GPA in your science courses is super important. Our average GPA for students coming into the College of Pharmacy ranges between 3.3 and 3.5 and even higher. We have amazing students that are coming in with substantially high GPAs, and they are super well prepared. The PCAT is required for several pathways. Like I mentioned, there's 4. One pathway that I started telling you about earlier was simply completing the prerequisite courses. You do not need a bachelor's of any kind in order to get in. As long as you have the prerequisite courses, that I can actually forward an email to Ariel if you like, with all those different links that break down all the different requirements that I was unable to share today through the screen. But so there's those prerequisite courses. Let's see, I lost my train of thought. And then we have where you can get a Bachelor of Science that obviously incorporates the requirements. Like, for example, the Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences already has all those prerequisite courses built into that undergraduate major, which is amazing. So that's the other option. Get that Bachelor of Science and then apply with those prerequisite courses, plus those other items listed that you need to apply. Then another area would be as an incoming freshman, students could secure their spot, which probably is not the case for your age group. But just so you know, if there's anybody that is interested who is currently a high school junior, high school senior, who is then eventually going to go into the College of Pharmacy in our PharmD program, they can secure their spot 2 years in advance. And when they apply, this is an early assurance program, is of high rigor. When they get into the program, they have to have a 3.5 GPA or higher in order to get the program to secure their slot 2 years in advance. That is the only program that excludes the PCAT. Only for our incoming freshmen that are securing their spot 2 years in advance roll right into the PharmD program. They still have to apply through PharmCast as well as like Midwestern, complete the application, but it's just a protocol. It's not necessarily to be evaluated to get admitted into the program. It's just to complete the paperwork for the early assurance students. And then, like mentioned earlier, you don't even have to get a degree either, just a prerequisite. So there's several ways to get in. It's all a matter of what is the best path for you. Some of the things to consider is that at the College of Pharmacy at the University of Arizona, we also have opportunity for you to have a PharmD plus another degree of some sort, like a dual degree, like a master's in public health, like a master's in business administration, and those. In order for you to be able to apply for those programs, the PharmD and a master's of some sort, you do have to have a bachelor's. So that's something to consider as you're applying into the program, or as if you're interested in PharmD, if you can even get a JD. So in order for you to get some of these programs, you have to have a master's. Like I know for sure for a master's in public health, a master's in business administration, you absolutely have to have a bachelor's. And of course, the requirements for the PharmD program. So those are just different pathways to get in based on the journey that you want to pursue and what your plans are for the future. So those are different options. What I also wanted to share with you is that I will email that to Ariel to hopefully share with you all. We have an amazing program where once you've applied to the university and once you're a candidate and we're reviewing you already, you automatically are submitted into an opportunity to gain scholarships, regardless of your financial situation. This is a new scholarship that was gained by our college. Right now it's called the Dean's Scholarship, and this is basically an admission scholarship. So just because you applied, you're automatically put into that opportunity to gain that scholarship. So, and that's 10 students are selected to get that scholarship of the entire the class that applies and gets in to the college. They will automatically get those funds, obviously distributed to through the regular financial aid process through the bursar's office, and the same process as any financial aid, right? When you get financial aid of any kind, whatever money you get, it gets split between the 2 semesters. You don't get it all in one semester and nothing the other. So it's basically split. So that's a great benefit that we did not have and we now gained, and we're looking to grow that even more. to help attract some more students, of course, who are needing assistance, of course. We all need assistance to attend the College of Pharmacy, if you really think about it, with any university, because it's fairly expensive. But it's a great investment for your future. Trying to think of what else I can say. Another great thing that's been added at the College of Pharmacy is we now have a newly created leadership class that our students can enroll in that gives them an opportunity to explore different areas in the world of pharmacy. That it's a certification they gain that when they apply to an employer, they already have some kind of certification that establishes that they're a good leader, they've been prepared to lead. So that kind of it sets the tone of possibilities for advancement and management and moving up in any of the organizations that you may apply as soon as you graduate. We also have a class specifically that helps you learn how to do research. If you decide that you want to go, after you get your PharmD, you want to go into research or grow in that area as well, the curriculum already is incorporating that in the program. So you can, you have to do a research project anyways. There's 3 years of didactics that you have to do, then basically 1 year of rotations of approximately 8 weeks each. I think 6 to 8 rotations. I know that there's adjustments happening right now because of the current situation that we're all living. So the rotations are being readjusted to help them be completed, since we're having these issues with students being able to go out and practice what they're learning in the classroom. Go ahead.
Thanks, Maria. I think we'll go ahead and transition to our
Absolutely.
Q&A. Okay.
Sounds good. Let's move on. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. And by the way, before we wrap up, we'll also share with you that are on the call that as especially for GCC students and other Maricopa students who may not know that GCC has a partnership program with Western New Mexico University that leads to a bachelor's in cell and molecular biology. Many students in the program go on, some go into research fields, but many also use it as a springboard to going into some of these professional schools, whether it's pharmacy school, medical school, dental, veterinary. This is one of the reasons too that, you know, our students have these questions about these schools. And so, you know, we want to, you know, help everybody to get answers, whether you're part of that program or not. So in a little while, we'll also share with you a little bit more. And those that want to learn more than that, we've got a separate session set up on Thursday, but we'll tell you briefly about it later on. So let me start into some of the questions about our pharmacy school. So Jessica, could you summarize for us the application process and what applicants should expect?
Yes. So our application process, basically students will go through PharmTech, submit all transcripts, and then of course I'll provide the link that shows all the prerequisite courses that need to be completed. But you'll also have your letters of recommendation uploaded, all experience and resume uploaded into there. That takes about 3 weeks for PharmCast to verify and get to us. And then we will go through, we take a look at the application holistically. So we first look at GPA and or PCAT if you happen to provide it. And then from there, we take a look at your personal statement, and then we'll take a look at your demographic questions, I think, that are on there. And then we take everything into account and then make a decision. Once we decide to invite, you'll get an invitation within usually a week to 2 weeks of us reviewing it. And then interview-wise, if you get extended an interview, currently we're doing virtual interviews due to COVID. So usually what happens is you'll have a dean's presentation in the morning, and then each applicant will break out into an interview session that lasts about a half an hour. It is a panel style, so it's one applicant with one other faculty member, pharmacist, or a current student. Usually 2 people, sometimes if we can get 3 to interview you, there'll be 3 in there. And then afterwards, usually our dean, he'll send out a presentation, or he might do one himself, just to kind of wrap up and then give a summary of the school. And then after interviews, you hear from us about 2 to 3 weeks later with the final decision. Lately, the pharmacy committee has been pretty quick with the turnover rate, so sometimes by the end of the week. So it kind of depends. And then after that, as long as all the prerequisites can be completed before matriculation, you guys will start in June, and then it'll be a 3-year program.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
And Ms. Maria, same question, if you can outline to our participants, to students, what is, to summarize the application process and what they should expect. You're on mute.
All right. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. It is very similar to what was just shared from Midwestern because it's also through PharmCast. So you do complete the application on the program, upload your resume, upload your transcript, your letters of recommendation. You basically do, it's the same process. And as well, it takes, 2 to 3 weeks for them to complete, review, and then they send us it's been completed and reviewed for us to then take to our admissions committee. Our admissions committee during the application cycles meets weekly. So every week of any applications that come in, they are reviewed, and immediately, soon after the admissions committee reviews the application, they then turn around and inform the applicants that they've been either, the offer or denial of their application. So it's a quick turnaround time. The waiting is basically on PharmCast to verify the transcripts and all that, the normal procedure that has to go through. And then after that's completed, then they're opened up. Once they're offered, the offer has been made, then the student's information is uploaded to then be able to complete the regular U of A information, so then they can have access to Scholarship Universe and begin, discovering what other support systems are available if they decide to move forward and accept the offer that we provide. So again, very, very similar to Midwestern, other than our timing tends to be, pretty turnaround time after we know, after PharmCast has delivered the complete application to us.
Perfect, thank you. Jessica, and then we'll come back to you, Luz. Each of these questions will just go back and forth. So what helps students to be more competitive in the application process?
Yes, so for us, we like to look at community service and then healthcare hours. So those stand out, and we are interdisciplinary, so the healthcare hours can range from veterinary to anything within the hospital. It doesn't have to be specifically with pharmacy. And then, of course, shadowing hours definitely helps. It shows us that the applicants have done their research, they understand what they're getting into. So having a pharmacist somewhere in there is great experience. Other things would be things that show leadership. So if you did anything in college with getting a club together, organizing an event or some community service event, fundraiser, things like that will definitely help students stand out as well. And then, of course, the GPAs will help. So especially now, it sounds like you guys are all starting out pretty early in figuring out this pathway. So just maintain that strong upward trend or that strong GPA until application time. And then we do, I forgot to mention before, but during our interviews, it is a blind interview. So once you guys get interviewed, they will only see your CV, your experiences, and that's what they'll usually talk to you about. So having those under your belt helps with answering their questions about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Luz Maria?
Yes, there's a very holistic approach when it comes to the application as how it's reviewed once it's passed the FarmCast, we look at everything. We look at the GPA, look at involvement and activities, leadership as well, and dedication to maybe one area more so than others sometimes, because that shows that they're focused on we've had a lot of students who have volunteered in a variety of different clubs, and have, 8, 9 clubs that they've participated, whether in their undergraduate program. And then we have those that were only in one club, but they evolved within that club from just being a regular inactive kind of member to then learned, evolved, and grew and took on leadership positions. So both of those two roles are actually very important, because we see people that take initiative and try things out to figure out where their journey is. And then we see those that evolve in the area that they're interested in. So it doesn't take away from either one. They stand alone. So it's, again, very holistic. We also, of course, look at, the performing well overall within the science courses specifically. So a higher GPA in those areas. Obviously, community service. It's just, again, looking at the overall applicant and the letters of recommendation. Everything plays a part, because in the areas that you feel that you may be lacking, the other ones bring you up, that where you may excel. So it's a balance, because even in the world of healthcare is a balance, specifically, of course, in the world of pharmacy. So it's super important to look at an applicant holistically, everything that the applicant has, and then a decision is made by the entire admissions committee to offer the acceptance. So it's you. Basically, whatever makes you stand out, whatever you excel, whether it be, even if it's, I don't know, if you were in a dance club and you elevate in the dance club, it doesn't have to be just pharmacy. Is that whatever you do that you enjoy, that you love, you excel and you passionately do it, because that shows your dedication as a student and success overall. So again, holistic, every component has, weighs in. There's nothing other than, of course, the grades, because that helps you excel and move forward, but everything combined helps you as an applicant to get selected.
Okay. And we had a student question that kind of follows up on this topic about how recent do volunteer hours need to be for both community and health?
For Midwestern, I would say starting in high school will accept. So we definitely look at that. And on top of community hours, if you have any work experience to showcase your professionalism and then your work ethic, that is definitely a plus as well. Just because we know a lot of students, if they don't need the bachelor's, they can get through the curriculum pretty quickly. And then having that work experience in there also shows maturity and growth and ability to kind of handle a program with various personalities.
Perfect. And Ms. Maria?
Basically, pretty much the same thing. I mean, we're focused on helping our students evolve and grow and succeed. So just making sure that they are prepared. So there's really nothing other than what she just said about the students that they seek. I think we all seek for students that have had experience, whether it be community service. Like I said, there's a minimum requirement of time, but really there's not a minimum requirement of how long ago. As long as there's evidence of the passion, whether it be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, obviously when they're discovering who they are and what they want to do, and that usually starts in high school. So as far as back as high schools, that time is considered. So it doesn't really matter as long as there's record of it and there's evidence of it, that you showcase that you have done it and then you enjoy it.
And tagging on to that, we had another follow-up question about if the event was for one day, does it still count? And I'm thinking from what you both said that it depends upon the leadership level, because the event probably didn't just come together on that day. So, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but, just kind of summarizing what I've heard from you, is that pretty much what you would answer, or do you have a different response?
That is exactly right. I mean, there's a lot of work that is done behind the scenes before an actual event. So absolutely, those hours definitely do count. At least I know that for sure for us.
Yes, we are in the same boat. That's exactly how we would view those one-day events as well, and the level of the event and how it was organized or created.
Okay. And another follow-up question, how many hours of community service does the average admitted student have?
For Midwestern, it seems our average is about 50. There's no minimum requirements. I would say anything 40 or more would look good and competitive on the application.
We've seen an average of like maybe 60, 70, because we've had a lot of students who are even greater, because there's students that already have like a pharmacy tech license, for example, and they've practiced and worked, for 6 months, a year. So obviously all those hours count. So it varies, but we do have the minimum requirement of 40, but it's very rare when we see applicants that only have 40. It's always much greater than that. That also shows their passion and evidence of within the field itself, and or the community service. So it's always usually more, but we do have a minimum requirement.
Thank you. So my next question, and I think we have touched on it a bit, but we can either add to it or summarize what students can do now to help themselves to be successful in the application process, as well as just in general, throughout the program and beyond.
I would say a good thing is to touch base with the schools that they want to apply to. So definitely kind of create that list of your top 3 to 4 schools. And because pharmacy schools have a variety of requirements, you want to make sure you're always on top of that. So that would be the first thing, is to make sure that you're in good contact with that university and that you know exactly what they want from you and what their standards are. The next would be to find ways to improve on anything that may be lacking. So I know GPA is usually one that everyone will ask about. That one is a strong factor, however, it's not everything. So if you talk with that school and you're like, this is my layout, what classes can I retake? Usually the counselor for that program will be able to kind of give you an idea of what you would need to do to get to a competitive level or to bring that GPA up, or what other factors you could add in to offset maybe a lower GPA or a lower PCAT, so things like that. And then another way to prepare is definitely getting to understand what pharmacy is about and how pharmacy affects the community. For Midwestern anyways, we definitely like to see students who have a strong knowledge base and that they understand what they're going to get into, because we want to make sure that our students, when they come in, it's a rigorous program no matter which school you go to, and we want to make sure that students have that consistent drive to keep going through all the hard times and make sure that they can succeed and then pass the exam. And I did see a question in here that I want to answer real quick. If you're reapplying and you have letters of recommendation, you can reuse them. Just ask the letter writer to update it with a new date, and then they can resubmit it, and that is fine for us.
Thank you.
I pretty much will echo what Jessica just said when it comes to all of that. The other thing that is super important to do is to reach out to the academic advisor of that college, right? Because they will review your transcript and identify what areas you may be lacking, or a course that you make sure that the courses are gonna transfer for you, and that they fulfill that requirement to get in. So that's very important. The other thing too is, if you haven't yet established a strong relationship with your recommenders, is to continue to build on that relationship. Super important. And especially if they're already in the field, if they are in the field of pharmacy or in the field of healthcare, again, that shows a level of dedication and readiness that you are already having those conversations with other professionals who can support you and guide you through the process. So communication, and again, research. attend events that the colleges have. You know, for example, we have a Discover Pharmacy open house where you have the opportunities to talk to other students that are already attending our college and that know the faculty, that understand how the program works. You know, get to know them, understand, because there are no better, I can tell you all about our program, but I'm not a pharmacy school student. So a pharmacy school student can definitely give you some better guidance and be clear and precise as to what the process is, how to navigate through the program overall. So that's super important. And our events actually allow you the opportunity, you know, open it up for you to go ahead and connect with our current students and our faculty. So we have those events available for you to attend. And just so you know, we have one coming up this fall on October 8th. We will have the first ever virtual Discover Pharmacy open house for a college that you all can attend, and I'll send the information to you, to Ariel, so she can share. You know, that's super important, is connecting with those that are already in the field, that are studying in that field, because that will help eliminate those fears that you have. Am I ready? You know, do I have all that it takes to succeed in this program? Is it really that hard? You know, because those are the questions that you're concerning. Am I really ready for this? And there's no better individuals to answer that for you than students and the faculty themselves. Get to know them. You know, are they going to be personable? Are they going to answer your questions? Are you going to feel the support? Are you going to find the support that you need? Even before you're a student, you get to experience that as a prospective student by shopping around and seeing what's happening and what they're doing and how they respond to your questions. So that's super important, to connect with the colleges of high interest to you and see how they respond and how they provide information to help you navigate and learn about the programs as a whole.
Perfect. Oh, and then there was also a follow-up question on the community hours. Apparently, what about community hours that were maybe done in another country?
I would say to still list them. The committee will review it, and if it falls within the same criteria that we look at for the volunteer hours here, they will definitely count it. So yes, just give a description of what it was, what you did, and then they'll still look at it.
Absolutely, they are reviewed. One of the reasons why I know this for sure is because we do have international students that apply to our program, and their hours that are done in their country are obviously looked at to identify their passion and level of readiness for this program. So absolutely, yes.
Okay. Okay, next question is basically related to the strengths of your program. So Jessica, can you tell us about some of the strengths of the Midwestern program, and then Ms. Mayor will come back to you with the same question.
Yes. So for our program, we are very heavy in community work and interdisciplinary. So a lot of our students will get kind of cross-training of how pharmacy affects other programs. And I think that helps them out in the field just because it won't limit them to just the clinical pharmacy setting. You can be more in research. You can dabble in the hospital setting. You can work with vets. You can work with physical therapists. So in that regard, it gives a lot of exposure and networking abilities into other areas if you don't want to do like just the clinical pharmacy setting. So we prepare students in that regard. And then we have a very strong open door policy here with our faculty members. So our students get a lot of support in any areas that they kind of want guidance in, or if they just want to meet and get an idea of any follow-up questions on what to do with the career path, with the PharmD degree. So we have a very strong faculty and like counselor environment here. And then our student services also provides a lot of support in regards to mental health as well as studies. So we make sure that our students are well balanced and can manage getting through school without losing their minds. It's very tough. So we try to make sure that students are well-rounded and have a balanced life throughout the university or the program.
Awesome, thank you. Ms. Maria?
Yes. One of our highest strengths is obviously that the University of Arizona as a whole is a Research One institution. So there is always new opportunities for students to get involved in a variety of different research programs. And honestly, you as a student, you can figure out what is of interest to you, and you can then reach out to faculty who are leading those research projects, which we have plenty of. And ongoing. So that's one great benefit. Another great benefit is, as I mentioned earlier, is that amazing leadership class that was just developed to help prepare you be a leader once you graduate and move on to the next stage of your career once you've completed your PharmD degree. And then our faculty. Our faculty is our strength. They are the ones who educate you. They are the ones who guide you and help you succeed. And our faculty is just like Midwestern is an open door policy. You can go in, talk to them. When it comes to reaching out to faculty with any doubt, any question, I assure you, faculty automatically responds. They love to talk about what they're doing and what is happening. So don't be afraid to reach out to faculty, and I believe because they are our strength, they know what is happening in the world of pharmacy as a whole, and then what's coming, the innovations, what's to happen in the future. Another great benefit is that we actually have 2 campuses, but the greater benefit is that those 2 campuses are pretty close. So opportunities for rotations, opportunities for let's say health fairs are open to you in 2 cities, really, where you can come and go and let's say you find out that there's something happening in the Phoenix area, even though you're a student in the Tucson campus, you could probably commute to Phoenix for a weekend and volunteer there for an event, and vice versa for those students in Phoenix. So that's huge, I mean, for us. Another great benefit is that we've added seats to our Phoenix campus. We are usually only admit about 140 students, but we now have more seats in the Phoenix campus. We actually admitted more than 40 students for this fall of 2020 in our Phoenix campus than ever before. So that's super exciting because we know it's growing and it's the area where there's a lot of opportunities to put to practice what you're learning in the classroom. So those are kind of the major highlights. There's many more. However, I don't want to continue to take the time, so let's move on.
Jessica, actually the next question, and I see also, I believe that your Associate Dean has joined us. Did you want to introduce him?
Yes, this is Dr. Mike Dietrich. He's our Associate Dean of College of Pharmacy, and he's actually really informative. So a lot of questions in regards to like the future career path, and he's very excited about pharmacy. So I would
got set up. That's good. I like it. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to be here. I just finished a course webinar on WebEx for my course, the Introductory to Pharmacy Practice course that I'm in charge of this year. And just so I had 100 and some students online with a couple of presenters. So it was a phenomenal experience. And that was the last class of the quarter. We're actually finishing the quarter today class-wise and starting with doing all the grading and stuff for the. Happy to be here. Happy to answer any questions.
Welcome. So we're basically, most of the session is a Q&A, so we're just going back and forth, with the same questions to each of the 2 schools, okay? So I saw a question from one of the students that kind of relates to one of the questions that I was going to ask. They were asking what's a good PCAT score, and the question that I had was what to expect in the PCAT and what scores are you looking for? And we'll start with Midwestern.
Well, as of this year, we are not requiring the PCAT for admission. Many schools in the West, particularly in California, do not require the PCAT. Therefore, we still do gain a lot of students from the California area, and we wanted to be in that same competitive basket. We believe we can determine candidate qualifications through the interview and through their undergraduate coursework and record. Also with their letters of reference and their letters to us and their communication with us, we're able to make a very valid, very informed decision without the PCAT. The PCAT nationally has seen a slip and the number of schools that have required it, and I think you're only going to see that continue. If you are coming to us with a GPA far below our averages, we do say that the PCAT is something you can take to help bolster your application. So if you feel, I've not done all that well in undergrad, my first few years, I'm doing a lot better now, I really got it, and I want to take the PCAT to demonstrate that I've gotten it, we're happy to review that. But we're looking, again, scores above the 50th percentile are for sure needed at that point. But we were historically in the 70th percentile when we were utilizing the test. The last few years, we've seen that erode down around the 50th percentile. So that's why we thought the validity of the test was not as strong for the pool that we were seeing. Therefore, we don't require it. So I can stop there.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Maria, same question.
Yes, we do still require the PCAT exam, like I mentioned, for students that are coming in with an undergraduate major for 3 pathways. The undergraduate major in science or not in science, as long as you have the prerequisites, and then with no undergraduate major at all, just 2 prerequisites. So we do require the PCAT. A good PCAT score is kind of hard to say because, again, I mentioned earlier, we do have a holistic approach in how we review our candidates. But the average is 50 percentile or greater is the norm that you see of applicants that are coming in or greater. But that's the average, but not a specific score is what determines you're in or you're out. It's a holistic approach to your application as a whole.
Thank you. To each of you, talk about the importance of clinical hours to the application process.
I'll have Dr. Dietrich start with that one.
Sure.
We understand that if you have some experience in pharmacy, and I guess clinical hours for some other professions is what they call them. For pharmacy, it'd be pharmacy experience. And how many hours you've worked. And it's not a matter of hours, it's that exposure to pharmacy. Historically, we wanted people to come to us who've had an extensive experience working in a pharmacy, knowing what they're getting into. But we've recognized over the last few years as well that it's harder and harder to get a job in a pharmacy. They are required to, if you work in the proper pharmacy area behind the counter kind of area, to be a certified technician or a licensed technician. That requires a course or that requires taking an exam, and that has become harder and harder to get done. So we don't require anyone to have hours in a pharmacy. We do require that they understand a bit about the profession, so they've done their homework. What are they really thinking of getting into, even though they've not practiced it? And I also believe if they've seen a community pharmacy, and that's where they've gotten all their experience, they've seen a community pharmacy. They've not seen all of the other aspects of pharmacy. So to pigeonhole them and say you don't have experience in pharmacy, what's that really mean? They could have experience in 100 different areas of pharmacy or 100 different areas of patient care that would certainly put them in a great role to be a pharmacist. So we don't require those hours, but we would like to have them come in with an idea of why they want to go into patient care. Why would they want to be a pharmacist? And they can start to put that thought together, articulate that thought both on paper and during the interview. If they can do that, that's going to sell their story much better than I worked at CVS for 10 years. I think in some ways working at CVS for 10 years as a technician and saying I can do that job as a pharmacist is not a good thing to say. You have to have more to your story than I just worked there. And I think you can do that without actually working there. So that was a long-winded answer to a relatively simple question, but I think we look at it holistically. Again, it's about what they bring to the table and what they bring to patient care.
All right, thank you. Ms. Maria?
I pretty much echo what the professor has said. It's a holistic approach as well. The requirement is 40 hours, which, like I said, is way below what we're usually getting. So it's all a matter of them having an exposure and understanding what they're getting into as a whole.
Okay. I think that's kind of tying back to community hours, which was one of the student questions that we received, who said, I'm working on my own research project now at ASU to add this on experiences on FarmCast or my personal statement essay. I'm saying yes.
Any research, any opportunity you've had to do research, regardless of the area, you could do research in human relations at this point. If you're doing something that requires critical thought and inquiry, and that includes any type of research, add it to your Farmcast. It will help you. It gives you another opportunity when you get to the interview to talk about yourself in an excited, passionate way. That's what brings you to an acceptance. It brings you to an acceptance by being on top of your game, marketing yourself and talking about yourself. And if you come in and say, I've done some research and you don't know what you've done or you haven't really done it, don't do it. Don't put it there. But if you're involved in it and engaged in it, put it on your CV, put it into your Farmcast or your resume. It's going to help you. It's going to help you every step of the way. It's going to help you now. It's going to help you when you're in pharmacy school, and it will likely help you having research experience into your career. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Pretty much the same thing. Absolutely. Do mention everything again, like I said earlier, that showcases your passion for the world of pharmacy as a whole, whether it be, that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, that you enjoy it, and that you're doing all the steps necessary to help you succeed. And showcase yourself. What gives you passion? What excites you and promotes you? So absolutely.
Next question, and we touched on a little bit about interviewing, so if you can speak to whether the interview is required during the application process. I believe Midwestern's already said that it is. And the sort of second part of that question is, do you have any helpful advice on how to prepare for the admissions interview?
Well, for Midwestern, we do a blind interview, and so the applicants or the interviewers don't see the stats or anything, so applicants can kind of relax in that sense and kind of showcase more of their personality. And then I'll let Dr. Dietrich explain the types of things they're looking for, how to prepare or speak with your interviewers.
Perfect.
Yeah, the interview is required by accreditation. It could be on site or it could be virtual. Obviously, right now we're doing virtual interviews at least through the end of this year. We're hoping to get back to live interviews, bringing people on campus to see what we offer, because the interview is a two-way street. And then you say prepare for the interview. You're interviewing us too. You're interviewing every school of pharmacy at which you apply. If you apply to 5 schools of pharmacy, if you have a relatively good GPA and a good background, you might get into 4 or 5 of those schools. That's the fact of 2020. Therefore, you're interviewing us just as much as we're interviewing you. But we're looking for that great fit. So it's being authentic. Be you. Don't come in saying what you think we want to hear. Prepare by knowing who you are and your comfort level and being able to communicate about yourself. If you can talk about yourself in an honest way, feeling comfortable, I did this in my life and I've done that and this is where I want to go, and having that story, you're going to ace the interview. If you come in and you look like you're reading from your notes and then I would like to be a pharmacist because it is a great profession and it's going to hurt your interview. Or if you come in with an attitude that I'm already in, you won't. Trust me, we do not like the attitude of I am better than you and I'm already in, this is just a formality. That is not true. The interview can break your application. Even if you have a 99 on the PCAT and a 4.0, the interview can break your application. Whereas a 2.5 and a 50 on the PCAT, or no PCAT anymore, and you come in and jam the interview and impress everybody, it could make your application. So it's about relaxing and being authentic. That's the only biggest piece of advice I've heard everywhere I've ever gone and every time I've ever talked to anybody is be yourself, because that's really what we're looking for. We want you to feel comfortable. So.
I've got to echo what he said, be yourself. But one of the other things that's super important to keep in mind when you're interviewing is to really pay attention to the question that is being asked, that you really, really listen and be in tune with that. And yes, our interviews are still required, and we are also doing virtual interviews at this time. But we obviously do prefer in-person interviews because nothing replaces in person.
Absolutely, yep.
We definitely are doing virtual interviews at this time. Whatever showcases you, be genuine, be you, and very, very, very close attention to those questions, because it's super important that you make sure you address every single aspect of the question that is being asked of you. And the same, echo what he said, that you're interviewing the college itself based on the questions that are being asked of you to respond to, and so on. So it's super important for you also to, at that time, when given the opportunity to ask questions, do ask. Do not be afraid to ask whatever questions and seek an answer for that, because that will help you give you peace in your decision, whatever that may be, especially if you have several options to choose from. So be genuine, be you, and pay attention to the questions. Super important.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. We touched on a little bit too about whether a bachelor's degree is required for your program, but just to get clarification, we'll start with Midwestern again.
A bachelor's degree is not required. In fact, we have an articulation agreement with Maricopa County, and there's an articulation agreement with we're working on some other articulation agreements where you would actually come in and finish your 2 years of pre-pharm and go right into pharmacy school. We don't see a lot of students on that track. Most students take a little bit longer to do their prerequisites, but it is not required. What a degree does help you, if we are in a situation where we are filling up and all our seats are taken, and I've got 2 candidates. One has a degree, a bachelor's degree, and one does not. We're likely going to, everything else is equal, we're likely going to err on the side of the bachelor's degree, because that person completed a very difficult task. A very difficult task. We all take for granted a degree. For some reason, we did it. Now we take it for granted. It is an incredibly difficult thing to accomplish. If you look at the number of people across the country and the world that actually have a bachelor's degree, you would understand that you are in a very small group of people. So we look at that as having the maturity and the acumen to finish something very difficult. But it does not preclude you at all. And I can tell you in 2020, we look at it, we'd love to have students who have bachelor's degrees. We believe they're going to be more successful and have an easier time in pharmacy school, but we have not been able to correlate that 100%. We would like to see it. If you don't have it, it's not going to be counted against you in any way. In fact, we see a tremendous number of students coming through, particularly the community college system, who don't have a degree. But we would like to see if that opportunity comes along for you to finish the degree if it's important to you. We don't want to take that away from you, because I think for some, getting that bachelor's degree is critically important. It's something that it's a pride issue. It's an issue that you want to finish. And we'd love to see you finish that before you start pharmacy school. But if that's not important, we do accept students coming in who've only had a couple of years of pre-pharm, as long as they get the prerequisites done. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and it's also the same case for us when it comes to it's not required. Like I mentioned before, we have several pathways to get to apply for the PharmD program. However, I echo what the professor has also stated, that it's all a matter of what's important to you. Again, we look at the applicant holistically, and that what gives them a sense of accomplishment, and then also it depends on what your future plans are. In addition to PharmD, a PharmD degree, if you want to pursue a master's, for example, like I mentioned before, since we do have a dual degree program in our PharmD program, if you want to get a master's in business or a master's in public health and so on, then in those cases, you have to have a bachelor's in order for you to be able to get a PharmD / business master's as well. So it all depends on what you want to do. So it's all uniquely based on your goals, your success, what makes you a strong candidate, because we take them both. And each one is looked at equally. However, it all depends on what your plans are, so make sure you know what they are so you can state them in your interview, and that they go in alignment with what you have already done. That way they see that there is a path and a plan, and you're going through the journey that best suits you.
Perfect. So I'm close to the end of my questions. I want to encourage students to go ahead and put additional questions in the chat. And while they're doing that, earlier I mentioned that we would share a little bit more about our partnership program. GCC has a partnership program with Western New Mexico University, which is WNMU would be the acronym. So under that partnership program, and it's a concurrent enrollment program, meaning that students who are working on their associate's degree can actually, while they're enrolled at GCC, also be enrolled at Western New Mexico University, so that they're working towards their bachelor's while they're continuing to finish up on their associate's degree. And there's a number of advantages of the program. As I mentioned, we'll have a deeper discussion. We have added an additional information session for this Thursday. So you can either put into the chat or reach out to me by email, and I'll make sure that you get that link if you don't already have that, if you haven't already expressed interest. But one of the advantages, the convenience, obviously right now with COVID, not, you know, a lot of our classes are not on campus, but normally the classes would be on campus, okay? And even now, some of them, you know, they're making arrangements for some hybrids and things like that for some of the labs. So it's the convenience of keeping the GCC campus with familiar faculty, familiar class size. You travel in a cohort, so you get, you know, a familiar group of students that you work with. And it's also hands-on and research-based. And we talked a little bit earlier about research and highlighting research, especially for anyone that wants to go into one of the professional schools. And it's just, you know, a way of exploring different avenues and seeing how the pieces kind of all fit together. Another benefit as well is the affordability. It's an 80-40 program, so that means you get to bring in up to 80 credits at the lower Maricopa Community College rate. And then the remaining 40 are the Western New Mexico rate, but they're known for their affordability. So overall, it makes it an affordable program where you're combining that convenience with that hands-on research component to it. So we hope that many of you will join us on Thursday to learn more. And I'm seeing a few other questions, so that's perfect. To clarify, dual degrees are only available at the Tucson campus and not Phoenix campus. Is that correct, Liz Maria?
Actually, since we have the Phoenix Biomedical campus, and we also have Eller in the Phoenix area, and we partner with those specific colleges for those dual degrees. So some are offered on both, most are offered on both. Some specific ones may be only offered in the Tucson campus. It all depends on what other services are available to us to share and collaborate with in the Phoenix Biomedical campus.
Okay. And for Midwestern, there was a student that asked about the Fast Track program in Midwestern. Is that like a program where all the prerequisites are required?
Exactly. That program for the early assurance program that we have with Maricopa County, and you could take your courses within the Maricopa County system. It's not necessarily at one place because it takes all of those places to get organic at the right time, physics at the right time, get all those prerequisites done. You would then be given a guaranteed seat in the class. The issue I'm having with it is a very restrictive system, and it's a very, very high GPA. It's far and above our average GPA. And I want to reanalyze that and work with the dean and work with your group to make that a more real-world process so that the GPAs mimic more of what we're expecting people coming from Maricopa County Community College system to have. It doesn't have to be a 3.8. It doesn't have to be a 3.7. I think that's very kind of over the top. And being able to do that. But I can tell you right now that agreement is a wonderful thing. It makes you on a track, and it's going to keep you on the rails if you need that. But we are accepting students who aren't on that program, you know, at the same rate that we would have somebody in that program. We have the seats available so that if you did take a couple of extra years or extra courses or took some courses, we really just are looking for the right person and the right fit. So I think these articulation agreements that put you on a railroad track to get there can be good for some people, but they're not right for everybody. And if you're not on that track, you're not going to be at a big disadvantage at this point with obtaining an opportunity.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is specific to U of A. When does U of A start interviewing for the early decision? Is it after submitting the application or after September 8th deadline?
After the application has been reviewed, obviously, by FarmCast and we received it. So after the application is when we start looking at early decision. And then there's another question as well, is how many do we review? It's how many apply, you know, by the deadline. So we review every single candidate completed application that we receive, you know, from FarmCast by the deadline. It's all a matter of how many apply.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for catching that question. I had seen it earlier. And then for Midwestern, I have my PCAT exam scheduled for September. If I have good credentials and have a lot of experience, is it better for me to apply now, or is it better wait until I get my PCAT score?
We are a rolling admissions application. What we will see is when it comes back from FarmCast, we will see that as soon as we can get it from FarmCast, we will evaluate your application without the PCAT. The PCAT will add information to us once you've taken it. If that is something that you submit to us, that would add information. I would suggest you get in as soon as possible. The early decision for this year, this is the last year of early decision from FarmCast. They are doing away with early decision. I have a lot of different reasons and thoughts of why they're doing that, and I won't go political here. And I don't mean like nationally politically, but pharmacy politically.
Mm-hmm.
They have gotten up to a point where they're not going to have early decision anymore, but most programs are on a rolling admissions process, so therefore early decision isn't quite as necessary. If you interview with Midwestern in September and you don't get in, you have the opportunity then to send your application to other programs through FarmCast and then interview with them. Early decision would lock you into that one program, like I said, putting you on rails, kind of like an early decision process or an early application process. It puts you on rails for that program and you're locked in. If you get into Midwestern in September because we meet the same week of your interview, it's the same thing. It's just that you didn't sign up for early decision. If you don't get into Midwestern through early decision, we release you back to the pool for you to go back and look at other programs as well. So I think the utility with many, many more programs now going to a rolling admissions process has gone down. Therefore, the need for early decision may not be quite as acute as it was when a lot of schools had 2 admission interview days, and that was it. You showed up at one of those days, and that was it. And that could be now, it could be in December, it could be January, February. That system is kind of gone away. There are some programs that do that, but most have a more rolling admissions process. And now with virtual admissions, we're interviewing basically every Friday, online through September through May of next year, just because we can. We can put people on the screen. It's not as labor intensive. I think it's going to be, it's an easier process. Certainly through December, I hope we get back to live interview. I echo Luz Maria's, her comments. It's a much better experience. It is a lot more fun. It's a lot better experience for everybody around. Although this is as best we're going to do is doing a WebEx, those kind of things. So, thank you.
Absolutely. And before we do wrap up, I encourage each of you to put your contact, your school's contact information into the chat so students can follow up with you. In some of these sessions, the schools have opted to do like a virtual tabling afterwards. I don't recall if either of you were going to do that, but at least how they can follow up with you. Okay. Alina, did you have any additional questions?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone and apologize. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself at the beginning of the session. I'm Elena Belcher, I'm the director of the STEM Connect program here at GCC. Just to encourage the students, if you do have any follow-up questions whatsoever, please feel free. You can also reach out to us in the STEM Connect office, and we can always pass over the presenter's information as well if you'd like to contact them directly. And then we can also help you, like Dr. Dietrich had mentioned, with the understanding which prerequisites are required for the programs, Midwestern's program, as well as the U of A's program. So if there's any of those questions that you might have, please feel free to reach out to us at STEM Connect. But I did want to thank our presenters. We certainly appreciate this. This is a series that we're trying to bring more and more to our students to be able to give them exposure to professions as well as the pathway of how to get there. So, we many times we get students that want to go on to med school, pharmacy school, dental school, and they're asking us those questions now. So as they're getting started, so they are really on top of it. So having you all here to be able to explain that to them is really invaluable, and it's great to hear that information straight from the universities or partner colleges that they want to go to. So I just want to extend that out to both schools. Just our heartfelt thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us. This is a very nice way for us to connect with some of the students.
Yeah. As I tell the students when they come to interview, the old days used to thank the program for allowing you to come interview. The programs are now thanking the applicants for coming to the interview. And we should be. We should be excited and happy and passionate to have those students want to come to us for the interview. That's the same thing as this. I am happy to do any of these at any time. These are fun. I enjoy talking about the program and the profession. And anytime you need me to do these things, it's an honor. I love doing them. And I hope we get to continue to do them, not just with GCU, but with all of the Maricopa County, and then hopefully broadening out to some of the four-year programs as well. I think they're incredibly valuable, and they're so easy to do. They're so easy to set up. Until we can get to the we can come visit, or you guys can come visit here, this is the best way to do it. So
Perfect. All right.
Absolutely. I'm super excited also to say that, having the opportunity to connect virtually with you, instead of seeing it as a negative, because we have to do this because of COVID, I'm seeing it, well, what's an opportunity? It's an opportunity for us to connect with many more people, many more prospective students at one time, in comparison that an in-person event, which again, nothing replaces it, but let's embrace what we have now. And I'm looking forward to doing even more so of these as well, and bringing on with me other representatives from our college who I know are excited to also collaborate and showcase all that we have to offer. And it's great to see that more than one institution is coming and presenting their program, because that showcases to the students the dedication of Maricopa colleges, that, that there is a variety of options that they can choose from, and they need to select the one that takes care of their needs, what they need to succeed. So thank you for giving the opportunity to our students of different options for them to choose from, because we appreciate the opportunity to be able to be one of those choices.
absolutely. I think the next time we do this, I'd love to have a student panel. I think having students is far more valuable than the guy who's been there 20 years and looks like me. So
yeah. Right.
I'd love to have students involved, because the students, particularly ones who come through your system, can tell the best story. Tell their story. They're passionate. They love doing it. I know they love doing it because they participate here on live interviews or our virtual interviews here. But the next time we do this, we'll set up a group of students to join us as well. Be quiet.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And Liz Marie, you may have seen this. We have a student that asked about the prerequisites, and I think that might have been something you were going to email me already.
Mm-hmm.
You're still on mute.
You're still on mute.
I keep forgetting I'm on mute. Sorry about that. It's rare when I'm on mute. I will definitely send you the email with that specific page that has multiple links to a variety of resources at the University of Arizona as a whole, and specifically to the College of Pharmacy. So I will email that sheet that has all the links for you, and Ariel, so you can share them with all the students that attended, or anybody who inquires. There may be some students that couldn't make it and want to know if there's any additional documents available to them. Please do share. So I will forward that to you as soon as we get off the call.
Perfect. And Jessica, I know you had some slides that that the sharing wasn't working earlier. So if you'd like to include that, email, I can provide that. It'll probably be next week. We have hit the record button, so hopefully we'll have a replay available next week as well.
No worries. And I also included, aside from our admissions phone number and email, the link that I provided has a lot of the information pulled from those slides. So it's all the prereqs, our stats, the minimum requirement like GPA and PCAT score if they choose to take it. So that'll all be there as well. And it also links to the curriculum. So if anyone wants to take a look at how our pharmacy curriculum is, there's a link in there too.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. We thank each of you for being here. We thank all the student participants as well. We hope that everyone got a lot out of this experience. And we have another one on veterinary tomorrow. I know that some students looked at more than one option. And as I mentioned on Thursday, we're doing our session for those that want to know more about the GCC partnership program for the Bachelor of Science in Cell and Molecular Biology. So we thank all of you. We hope you'll have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.